Well, a very big welcome to you all, whether it's the morning, the afternoon, or for some of you, it's the evening, joining us for this coaching cafe. We are excited to be back for 2025. This is Natalie Ashdown from the Open Door Coaching Group, and I'm joined on the line by our resident HR specialist, Paula Jones-Hunt. Welcome back, everyone, to the Coaching Cafe for 2025. And as we've done with other years, kick off our coaching cafe talking about trends for 2025. So trends in coaching and trends beyond as well. That's our topic for today. Before we begin, as always, let me acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, or wherever you might be listening to this Coaching Cafe on your favourite streaming podcast. And we acknowledge the traditional owners and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, the communities of Australia and our international communities, and all around the world, wherever you might be joining us. We pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. So our agenda for today, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at trends in coaching for 2025 and beyond. And how do we take a coaching approach to those trends? What does it mean for our coaching? If you are new to the Coaching Cafe, we say every week, welcome to you. We're all about creating a community, sharing learned experiences and having thought-provoking conversations. And we come together at this time every Friday, well, most Fridays anyway, to share these ideas with you and to get your interaction as well. If you'd like to interact with us, please feel free to pop a message into the chat box and we'll pick up your comments and your messages as we go along. If you are a regular to the Coaching Cafe, welcome back. You can hear the excitement in my voice. I'm happy to be back with you, kicking off our new series for 2025. We love coming together with you every Friday. It's part of our own professional development to be here with you as well. So lots of thumbs up and hearts coming in the emojis. Thank you. That's lovely. So yeah, please feel free, as always, interact with us. We're really super keen to hear your thoughts. We have people dialing in from Japan, North Carolina, down the road in Dandenong, Beijing, Perth, Calgary, Canada. It's wonderful to see you all around the world joining us. You may also be here for your ICF CCEs. There's quite a few people that needed to upgrade over in the last period for 2024. So if you're collecting your ICF please do that. They will be available to you at the end of the session. All right, Paula, let's get into the trends. We've had a lot of thinking about this and a lot of research, but the thing I'm excited about most, I think, is that Open Doors programs have just been re-accredited for the next 5 years. So our Certificate 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching, and now it's called the Diploma of Leadership Coaching, have just been re-accredited by the Australian government. They'll also be re-accredited by the ICF once again by March, in 31st of March, we have to have that done. As part of that process for re-accreditation, we had to put together a steering committee and we had to think about coaching in the next 5 years to ensure that our coaching programs met the needs of industry and the needs of all participants and students for the next 5 years. So we did an extensive amount of research. And so the trends that we're providing here are not only the trends for 2025, because we're seeing this come out of the coaching already, and this is our predictions for 2025, but they're also based on what do we expect for the next 5 years as well. So I'm excited to deliver this and these ideas to you all. And I'm also excited to hear what your thoughts might be. So just to give you an overview, for those of you that might be listening on your favorite streaming service, coaching is without a doubt now a core competency. And so we'll be talking about that core competency for managers in the workplace. There's definitely a trend around well-being and creating psychologically safe workplaces. We saw that really take off last year in earnest, and we're going to see more and more of that in our coaching. There's definitely the need to think about adapting to technical changes. And here specifically, I'm talking about the use of AI in coaching. We'll see trends in that. Career transitions. There's a lot of career transitioning going on. So we'll talk about what that means in terms of coaching. And then the other thing that's happening this year is that it's actually in Melbourne in particular, or in Victoria, where I'm originating from. March 2025 marks 5 years since we had our first lockdown in COVID. And I think there's a big trend in coaching at the moment around that. So we'll talk about that very quickly as well. And of course, we're really keen to hear your thoughts. What we're thinking about is, what are we going to experience in our coaching? What do we need to be aware of in our coaching? How are we going to be assisting managers, leaders, supervisors, ourselves in our coaching? So we're thinking about those trends that we might see. So we're happy to hear your thoughts. Let's kick off with our first one. Paula, you've been doing the research around this in particular, and we know that coaching is now essential for leaders to foster an employee growth, to drive organizational success. We all know that. Everybody on the line knows that. I think the key thing here, though, is that coaching is now included as a policy in every job description. That coaching has been included. And I think it's not so much a trend. It's more to say, if organizations aren't on board with this, they probably should be. But I think it's just an acknowledgement that of the core competency for me. And you've looked at the research around coaching culture and how coaching builds trust. Did you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I think the coaching as a competency, it's about leadership, leaders being coaches, and it's also about organizations creating environments, and it's linked to employee engagement. So we know that employees who feel trusted and supported by their managers are 3.4 times more engaged. So we're talking almost 4 times more engaged employees if they trust and support their manager. And when you think about how do you create trust and support as a manager, we generally go back to coaching as the core competency, because it's really about investing in the person and giving them opportunities to go and try and do things their way, and trusting them to go and do that, and then supporting them regardless of the outcome. So if the outcome is great, you're supporting them, and that's great. If the outcome didn't work out quite well, you kick back into coaching and go, okay, well, what can you do differently next time, or how do we approach this differently? So it's really at that core piece of engagement, which every manager has to be able to work with their team and build that trust and support, which in turn builds the coaching culture that says the next generation who have been coached by managers will then go on and coach people. So it's all interlinked for me.
Yes, I agree. Not only that, is everybody on the line already knows this. We're just reminding you, I think, that the ICF core competencies have this built into it as well in terms of building trust. So everything we're doing is linked through the ICF core competencies. It's part of what we do. And you've also noted there the Human Capital Institute and the ICF studies that 54% of companies that are classified as high performing have a strong coaching culture. That figure drops to 29% amongst organisations without one. So in terms of a trend, I suppose what we are trying to say here is that the acceptance of coaching as a core competency is coming through my doctoral research as well. It is well and truly cemented, so we can feel comfortable in that, and then use these kind of statistics and the like to drive business cases for coaching as well. The second trend I want to talk about is well-being and psychologically safe work. So we saw the legislation come out in Australia in particular last year. I think our major concern here in terms of a trend is a trend that we are seeing in coaching, where coaches, our executive clients in particular, are really burning out. We are February. and people are already into what happened to January. The difference is that there's a lot of work that's going on. It seems almost unrelentless for some people. And so I think we're going to be coaching more to help people find that balance, to watch out that they're not going into burnout. And as managers, leaders, and supervisors, we all have to be aware of that. Paula, you've got some statistics there that you wanted to share with us as well.
Yeah, so it was from the MetLife's 2024 employee benefit trends, and it surveyed workers across the US, UK, Australia, and Canada. And the statistic that came out that said only 63% of workers ranked their physical health as good or excellent. So that means that there's 37% that ranked it lower than that. And even when you think about good, good is okay, but excellent is better. Only 58% felt the same about their mental health. So the physical health was one bit, then the mental health kicked in and that was lower. And 45% regarded their social health, at their mental health. And only 35% ranked their financial health as good or excellent. And we know that all of those factors combined link to how you feel about yourself. So your physical health, your mental health. And we talked last year actually about the impact of the cost of living and those sorts of things. And it's evident in this research that it had that impact. And so it's about thinking about the person from a holistic perspective when we're coaching, is that some of those things might be affecting their performance in the workplace because we can't separate the two. So I think that burnout piece is it's an overall burnout as well.
Yes, and we're not trying to be doom and gloom here with everybody. What we're trying to do is present statistics so that we understand what's happening in terms of the trend. And then, of course, as leaders, as coaches, as managers, as supervisors, we're in the perfect position to actually create a thriving workplace and do coaching and focus on the coaching that enables that thriving workplace. The 2024 Global Employee Life Evaluation Study done by Gallup said that only 35% of the global workforce said that they were thriving. 56% reported struggling, while nearly one worker said they were suffering. We are almost on a crusade, a mission. I think it open door coaching here to get those statistics up. We want more and more people within our workplaces thriving, and coaching and our ability to coach and our ability, I think, to show up as human beings as well can make a massive impact here. So, okay, I'm off my soapbox, but that's what we think. So feel free to jump in with your comments there, anybody, if you'd like to make a comment as well. The other trend we're noticing is the 5-generation workplace. And this is where we have literally 5 generations in the workplace, and all of the generations are going through career transitions. So it's been very interesting in our executive coaching in particular, a lot of discussions around career transitions, the next career, etc. And it's a bit of a unique time, I think, that we're in, where the so-called traditionals and baby boomers are actually retiring. Gen X are moving into the last 10 years of their careers, potentially. The Generation Y, remember the millennials? Well, they are now senior leaders in our workforce. And of course, we've got the new generation coming through. So it's a very interesting time, and there's a lot of coaching that we can be doing in this area across the different generations, and focusing on that different generations at different parts of their career are going to be making transitions. Paula, did you have any comments to make around this?
Yeah, this is actually quite historical because we've never really had 5 generations working before. So it's the first time this has really been the case. And to me, this links in with the career transition point, also links in with the creating engagement for individuals based on their actual requirements rather than broad strokes across an organisation. So we have got traditionals and baby boomers who are still wanting to work, which previously lots of them, you know, it was sort of like you were required to retire, but now you're not required to retire, and they're still actually wanting to have a contribution and be involved, but they want to do it differently than how it's been done before. So that coaching space is such a great place to really look at, well, how do we make this work? What needs to happen in order for that to happen, and keep that knowledge. We don't want that knowledge to just walk out the door of an organization, but how do we actually think about it differently so that we create environments and roles for people to stay in longer? And then we've got our generation Z's coming through. I'm not even sure what that will necessarily look like, but we do know that there's been a change in the way that younger people view work, and they're trying to do the I work so I can have more fun in my personal life, rather than the other way around, which was we just worked hard and hoped that we could work out a balance moving forward. So I think for all of them, it's about there's key points in all of the different generations about how they want to move into the next steps. And it's really a great time for coaches to be able to work with people to say, how do we create new frontiers? How do we do things differently that we haven't done before and create new paths?
Yes, I really agree with you, Paula. And I would add to that because I know in the beginning of all of our coaching programs, you know, on day one, we say coaching is a universal language. Coaching can be used across the generation. It's one of the disciplines and toolkits and technologies I think we have that actually spans across all the generations. Of course, you can say, well, great communication and great listening, etc., spans across the generations, but that's all part of coaching, isn't it? So coaching is a universal language. It spans across the generations. We can coach upwards, downwards, sideways. Gen Xers can coach, traditionals can coach. So you can actually coach across the generations as well. And we really want emphasize that, as Paula said, because now conversations about, you know, I don't understand this, or the young people this, or the young people that. And I just think back to when I was younger, and I was no different. Yes, we have technology, etc., but I think it helps us broaden our thinking about working together, creating diversity, and really leveraging the diversity of the different generations. I actually also remember back in like almost 20 years ago, I wrote an article to say that older workers, so-called older workers, should be brought back and retained in the workplace as mentors and coaches. Guess what? That hasn't changed in 20 years either. There's such a great opportunity for the so-called older workers to transition to mentor and coaches and retain the organisational knowledge as well. But we do agree with you there, Laura. You said that employees and managers' generation can be different, and the values and attitudes are different, and that could become a problem. And we agree with you. And that's where coaching is such an advantage, because we can sit down and have those conversations and understand what the differences are, what the values differences are, what the attitudes differences are, work a way forward, the way we can work together. Lots of opportunity for coaching. Adapting to technical changes. Now, last year we did a 3-part series on AI and coaching, and we'll be continuing that this year as well. We have actually built the use of AI and coaching into the certificate for workplace and business coaching now. So one of the major needs of the workforce going forward was to understand technical changes, in particular the use of AI. And coaching is no different. So that's been built into our certificate for workplace and business coaching. But the interesting statistics here is the adoption of AI worldwide has increased dramatically in the past year. After years of, just ticking along as it is, Paula, you picked up this graph from McKinsey, which I think is really significant. And it says that in 2017, the definition for AI adoption was using AI in a core part of the organization's business. And that's moved to, in 2018 and 19, the definition was embedding at least one AI capability in business, processes, or products. But since 2020, the definition has been that the organization has adopted. So using, embedding, and adopted AI and at least one function. And for those of you that can't see the graph, the adoption has significantly increased from 55% through to 72%. And the use of generative AI just in the last year or the last 2 years has more than doubled. So what does this mean in terms of our coaching? Well, a couple of things. First of all, we're going to see more tools, actual apps that do coaching, that do AI and coaching. And in response to that, the International Coach Federation has actually issued a set of standards for the development of technical applications in coaching. And so the use of ethics, the standards, the International Coach Federation has a working committee. There's a lot of work being put into that. But I think as coaches, we need to understand how we can use AI to improve our coaching and generally thinking about the mindsets around the use of AI. Paula, did you want to add to that?
Only just that, at the beginning of last year when we started talking about AI in coaching, I was kind of one of those naysayers in my mind. I was like, oh, good grief, how would we even do, how do you replace the person? And now I am a huge advocate of AI because it's not about replacing the person. I actually think AI is a really cool tool to help people faster work through whatever it is they're working through and come up with their solution, whatever the solution might be for them at that particular point in time. But I think it's like most things, when new technology comes along, there's a resistance to it. And then when you delve into a little bit deeper and you get to know it, you can figure out how to make it work for you. And I think this will be no different. It will be figuring out how to make AI work in that coaching space. But I think there's other technologies that are coming through on the back of the AI. And it's really just from a coaching perspective, having an open mind and being curious about what it is and then looking at what the options are to make it work for you.
Yeah, that's really nicely summarized, I think. And so there's no doubt about that this is a trend that's going to continue. It will show up in our coaching. It will show up in terms of how we interact with our clients in our coaching as well, potentially. And I think the other important point is that the International Coach Federation are spending a lot of time and effort to really work on the ethical use of coaching, ethical use of AI and other tools in coaching. So that's actually what we built into the new certificate for workplace and business coaching, the ethical use of technology. So very interesting, and we'll keep an eye on this as it develops. Thank you. So the last trend I wanted to share with you is the thought that it's actually March 2025, 5 years here in Melbourne, Australia, we went into our first lockdown. So it's 5 years since our first lockdown, and worldwide, it's 5 years since the start of the global pandemic. The trend that we're noticing, and so we've had to go through that whole period, and we've had to then work out what does return to work look like, return to the physical workplace, etc. Off the back of that, we have cost of living crisis, etc., etc. What we're noticing as a trend is that there's a lot of unresolved issues that are still out there, and we think under the surface that are starting to simmer to the surface. So anything that wasn't dealt with in terms of performance management or performance conversations or just general conversations about how we work together are still being flushed out it was happening last year, but we're noticing it this year in particular. So we think there's going to be a trend in coaching and coaching through conflict. Uh, More and more of our work, I think we think this year will actually be around helping people have better conversations, helping people resolve conflict, helping people cement change. Think of Tuckman's forming, storming, norming, and performing. So this will be norming those changes and moving into performing with those changes. And it's been 5 years, and I think there's still a lingering legacy that we will be coaching through. So it's an exciting time because we have the opportunity to coach people, and we have the opportunity to build better workplaces, and we have the opportunity to build better conversations using coaching conversations. It's just this undercurrent, I think, that we'll see a bit more of as well. Paula, I know we're right on time, but did you want to respond to that at all?
Yeah, the other thing I think is interesting is that COVID was the first major crisis that we had gone through that was global for a particularly long time. So if you think about world wars and depressions, and it was new to a lot of people. And I think I had a conversation with someone who was saying to me, "Oh, I just need to survive the next 12 months." And I said, what and it was really about the idea that we would survive for something. And I think COVID brought that to the forefront. And we had a lovely conversation about, well, how do you want to spend the next 12 months? Because surviving doesn't sound like a lot of fun. And I think that's come into people's minds because we did feel like we needed to get through. We just need to get through COVID. We need to get through the next lockdown. We need to get through. And so it's really helping people move past that mindset as well.
Yes, and let's not make light of this. It was actually survival. Like, people were very sick and experienced
Correct.
significant health issues, and people passed away as well. So we're not making light of, get over it or anything like that. I suppose what we're trying to say here from a trend point of view is that we are now 5 years on from that first lockdown. There is still an undercurrent, in our opinion, of unhappiness, I suppose, or unsettlement, or lingering conflict that was never sorted out. And so that's potentially going to be a great opportunity for our coaching moving forward. So there you have it. We're right on time. They're the trends that we think will actually influence our coaching this year. And as we mentioned, not only that, we expect them to influence the coaching that we do over the next few years. And that's why we have built coaching responses in terms of models and responses into our new programs. So as we've been mentioning, we're very excited to let you know that the Certificate for Workplace and Business Coaching has just been reaccredited and relaunched. The diploma is going through a massive upgrade. It's now going to be titled the Diploma of Leadership Coaching. The Certificate for is a level 1 program. The diploma is a level 2 program. Of course, lots of opportunity this year in terms of executive and leadership coaching. So if you need assistance with that, you can let us know. And mediation services. So responding to that last trend around trying to sort out the conflicts that's going on, we have those services available to you as well. So thank you everyone for being part of our first Coaching Cafe. As I said, it is wonderful to be back. People sending messages of appreciation, and the 5-year perspective. Yes. So as I said, we did a lot of research here and brought our steering committee to talk about the needs of organisations as well. So yes, wonderful to be back. Thank you, the hearts, for coming through. That's really, really good of you. We'll say thank you for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with you at our next Coaching Cafe. And as we always say, enjoy your coaching.